In the first 5 games of the conference finals, Jalen Brunson averaged an efficient 33 points a game, but the defense of Andrew Nembhard in Game 6 changed everything. In this video, we're going to go over why the Pacers had such a hard time bottling up Brunson throughout this series, and why Nembhard specifically was able to slow him down. Now, like we all know, Brunson has been a superhuman scorer for the Knicks all season, and what makes him so tough to deal with is that he can generate offense from literally every spot on the floor. He's shooting above 40% on pull-up threes, he's got the handle and strength to put pressure on the rim, he can stop and pop jumpers in the mid-range, and despite being 6'2", he's actually got a really good post game. But regardless of that versatility, the foundation of the Knicks and Jalen's offense has been his play and pick and roll. Throughout the playoffs, Brunson averaged over 12 points per game out of pick and roll, which is second to just SGA. When defending these ball screens, there's literally no room for error. If you allow Brunson to get daylight off these screens, he can pop threes, or turn the corner and get all the way to the rim. And then even if the man guarding the ball is somehow able to stay attached, Brunson still has the strength and touch to generate points.
Cut it in half. Brunson in traffic.
Look how Nesmith here is going to get clipped by the screen. And once he gets stuck on Jalen's hip, that strength and low center of gravity allows him to bump and keep his driving line all the way to the basket. And what also makes Brunson so hard to guard is that every part of his game is layered with counters. If you're overplaying the drive as Jalen comes off, he can slam the brakes and separate out for a jumper. Or if you're able to fight and get back in front of his driving line, Jalen also has a whole duffel bag of different turnaround and mid-range looks. And then if you're able to play picture-perfect defense and get him to pick up his dribble, Jalen still has that elite pivot game in his back pocket.
He'll try to tag. See where the foot will go.
Now, the other purpose behind these ball screens was to hopefully force switches and give Jalen mismatches to attack. And besides Nesmith and Nembhard, Jalen was pretty much having his way with everybody on the Pacers roster. He had the handle and foot speed to cook Indiana's 4s and 5s in open space, the strength to bump and work his way to spots against all his backcourt matchups, plus he could leverage that downhill driving threat to push the defense back, creating space for these pull-up threes.
Does well. Brunson three.
So in essence, that's why Jalen was scoring 30 plus in the first 5 games. He's great at making reads and playing off angles and pick and roll, and his dynamic skill set allows him to attack a variety of matchups in isolation. But what exactly changed in Game 6? First, at the start of this game, it was looking like another typical Jalen Brunson performance. First play of the game, the Knicks are going to run this simple ghost screen, which gets Nesmith on his hip, giving Jalen this runway to the basket. Then 30 seconds later, he's going to work off these 2 off-ball screening actions, and he catches with all this open space to attack into. But on just the following play, Andrew Nembhard would switch onto him, and this is where the entire course of the game would change. Now, the first thing Nembhard did was step out and pressure Brunson full court, and this both took away the Knicks' offensive flow while also taking away Brunson's rhythm. In New York's half-court offense, Brunson typically likes to catch the ball right at the 3-point line or below. And from these lower spots, he's both a threat to shoot over the top, put the ball down to work his way to the basket, or he can turn his back and get to that mid-post game. Look how the Pacers here allow him to catch right at the level of the 3. And from this spot, your defense is already at a disadvantage. If you pressure, you're then vulnerable to getting beat off the dribble. But then if you sag back, you're also giving up the rhythm jumper. But if you're stepping out and pressuring him out 40 feet away from the basket, there's just not as many options that Jalen has. And again, Nembhard being able to both pressure and contain the ball completely took away Brunson's rhythm. Another thing Brunson likes to do when bringing the ball up is use that initial space to push the defense back for easy looks, or establish position early at the 3 to then get back to his off-the-dribble scoring. But Nembhard being able to pressure and contain the ball took away all those early attacking options, because that extended out pressure didn't allow Brunson to get headed steam towards the perimeter, and this forced him to either stop or play more side to side, which again took away the Knicks' offensive flow. We'll see him here set his feet at half court and force Brunson to start backing down and bumping to create space. And as OG comes to set the screen, there's just no momentum he has to play with. Plus, he's not a real shooting threat from that range. Now, the next thing we have to look at is Nembhard's screen navigation. Like we've gone over, Brunson's play out of pick and roll has been the foundation of the Knicks offense. So Nembhard blowing up these actions pretty much cut the head off the snake. Look how he's going to wedge himself between the ball and the screener, to then scramble and get all the way back in front. And from this spot, he's just going to stay vertical to avoid fouling. Another important detail about these clips is how Nembhard gives Jalen no space off the dribble. Again, what makes Jalen so hard to guard is that deep bag of moves and counters. But in order to set all that up, Brunson needs space. First, like we've seen, Jalen can use that extra breathing room to rise up for jumpers, or use that shooting threat to pull the defense out, setting up more downhill drives. And that's also the case with his in-between scoring. Look how much of a cushion here he has off the dribble, and he can walk into that open space to bump and draw the foul. And defensively, you also can't afford to give Jalen any space out of pick and roll, because from there he can easily pick you apart with his 3-level scoring. Look how Josh Hart is going to slip out of the screen, and the Pacers have a slight miscommunication. But Nembhard having both feet below the 3 allows Jalen to charge up and get a ton of separation with this bump and turnaround. And believe it or not, that space also plays a big factor when Jalen's playing off the ball. The Pacers are first going to double him off his ball screen, but notice how Nesmith is going to fall asleep for a split second, and Jalen can use that cushion off the ball to blast off his handoff. But jumping to game 6, that space for Brunson was pretty much non-existent. Whether it was the full court pressure or perfect screen navigation, Nembhard didn't allow Jalen to develop any kind of momentum or pace with the ball. Look how far Nembhard is going to again force him to catch it. And as Jalen explodes to his left, notice how Andrew is able to move his feet and stay in front, to again give him literally no space to play with. And Brunson gets stuck picking up his dribble. And what I also love about Nembhard's defense is that he stayed consistently engaged even when he got switched off the ball. The Knicks are initially able to force the switch off the screen, and while dealing with Karl Anthony Towns in the paint, Nembhard still has the awareness to reach across and swipe the ball free. I also think the Pacers as a team made a couple of crucial adjustments. Probably the biggest one was extending out and running more aggressive coverages in pick and roll, which again feeds into the idea of both not giving Jalen space or allowing him to get to his spots. Throughout the first 5 games, Indiana was dropping their bigs well below the 3, which like we've gone over feeds into all of Brunson's strengths. And he had no problem turning the corner and picking apart this coverage with his 3-level scoring. And when the Knicks tried to target Tyrese Haliburton, he was also dropped back well below the 3. But in game 6, the Pacers were extending out and meeting Brunson at the level of the screen, or hard hedging with their other guards. We'll see Nembhard here again extending out to meet Brunson at half court. But the Knicks are going to try to free him up with these pair of ball screens. But as he comes off, Haliburton is going to hard shove, which pushes Brunson back and gives Andrew time to work around and get back in front. We can see a similar thing here, where the Knicks are going to again try to target Tyrese Haliburton in pick and roll, but that hard hedge forces Brunson to play lateral, which then gives Nembhard time to work around and get the steal from behind. So in game 6, I think the Pacers made all the right tactical adjustments, and that combined with Nembhard's individual performance was enough to slow down one of the best backcourt scorers in the league. And Indiana is going to need all that and more going into the finals. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments who the kids should break down next. The kids here.